What is the cost of buying eggs versus the cost of growing your own? Today I'm going to run through some numbers and let you know at the end whether I think growing eggs is really worth the time and effort. Now there are some real considerations when it comes to trying to work out whether you think raising chickens for eggs is worth it or not. The first one is whether you are usually buying pasture-raised, free-range, delicious eggs, or whether you are buying the cheap store-brand egg. There will be a really big price difference between these two, and at the end of this you'll be able to see us raising our own chicken eggs, where they sit price-wise and how they compare to ones you can buy in the store. Now conventionally raised eggs are so much cheaper than probably you can raise them at home, and that's because they get massive discounts on the feed and on the chickens and the housing. So let's be sure that we are comparing apples with apples. Pasture-raised free-range chickens, even if you're keeping them in a coop but you are feeding them scraps out of the garden every day, they count as that pasture-raised, and pasture-raised eggs are significantly different to the ones that you can buy conventionally raised. You do have to be aware that conventionally raised feed often these days has a food colouring in it to make the egg yolks look brighter, even though they're not actually getting any access to the bugs and the critters and the fresh green grass, which is usually what makes the egg yolks so bright. In food in general, colour means nutrients, and so with the bright green egg yolks, that sounds gross, with the bright yellow egg yolks, it means that they are really high in nutrients, and also the lipid profiles, the fats that are in there, is a quite different ratio to the conventionally fed chicken. The other consideration is what breed you get. Now hybrids, we raise hybrids for the eggs. These are chickens that have been bred for many generations to make the ultimate laying machine. They eat a very specific amount of food. They convert that food to the most amount of eggs possible. They will lay almost an egg a day for about 18 months. Now the upside to hybrids is their feed to egg conversion ratio, try saying that too many times fast, is really, really good. They eat a lot less food for the amount of eggs they create. They're really friendly, kind little chickens. I really adore them. They're very lightweight. They're easy kept. I've not really had any problems with them attacking people. They're not particularly flighty. They're quite lovely natured little chickens. The downside is you do have to buy them in every year. They only last sort of their 18 months of laying, so a total of 2 years. So you take almost 6 months to get them to laying, and then they'll lay for 18 months. They do keep laying, just not as efficiently. So they can be sold on to people that want them as backyard chickens. So there's a few options there, but realistically, if you're doing it for egg production, that 2 years is pretty much the limit. The other option is to use some of the other heritage breeds. Heritage breeds come in a vast range of colours, sizes, uses. If you were to get a really good laying breed, we have Barnvelders and Araucanas and Summers. They all lay really well. Not as well as our Highlines do, our hybrid ones, but they do. They lay really well. On the other side, we've got some of the bigger dual purpose birds. So we have Light Sussex and Orpingtons. Beautiful birds, lovely natures. Terrible layers. Well, the Light Sussex aren't bad. The Orpingtons at the moment, our rooster is eating most of our eggs, but they certainly aren't the big producers that the laying hens are. But the upside to heritage breeds is you can keep a rooster and you can breed your own, so you're not having to pay that replacement cost. And the other thing is they might not lay so many in a year, but you'll find that they'll lay quite regularly for 4, 5, 6 years as opposed to 2. Of course, the larger birds also eat a lot more for each egg they produce. But contrasting that, you can raise your own chickens, the extra roosters can go in the pot. There's pros and cons to both sides of this coin. Also, the heritage breeds are so pretty. There are so many cool colours. Tell me, do you raise hybrid chickens, or do you raise heritage ones? Or are you in the middle and you're not sure which you're going to do? Or are you like us and raise both? Tell me about it in the comments below. Right, now I'm going to move on to my laptop, and I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that I've put together, working out the calculations of the prices of keeping chickens and selling the eggs versus buying the eggs at the supermarket. I'll put a link to it down below if you'd like to be able to use it yourself. In theory, if you click on the link, it should automatically ask you to make a copy of the spreadsheet, and then you can have it in your Google Docs to fiddle with it yourself. Alrighty, so you can see on here I have created this spreadsheet, and up the top it says do not edit anything in a red box. These are the boxes that contain the equations that make the whole thing work. So at the top up here, number of chicks, we usually get 50. Cost per chick, these cost us $5.90. And our shipping per box is $35. All of these numbers will vary depending on what you have accessible to you. Our chicks, we feed 2 different types of feed. The first 15 weeks we give them a chick starter, a crumble, and after that we move them onto a laying grain that we can get that is produced locally. So the cost of the bag of feed for the first 15 weeks is $33 a bag, and it is a 20 kilo bag. And then we move down our bags of layer feed, they're $22 a bag. Unfortunately, I have had to do this in kilos, so if you're working in pounds, I'm sorry. Just times your pounds by 2.2 and enter it as a kilos option, and it will work out. Miscellaneous and medications. So our chickens, I've worked out 50 chickens, we run 2 heat lamps, and so that works out for us at about $50 or $60 worth of electricity. On top of that, over those 22 weeks, we do also worm them and treat them for mites, and also treat them for coccidiosis. So all of those all up, I work out it's about $100 for a batch of chicken. So the total cost of raising an individual chick to 22 weeks is $27.96. The cost of all chicks all up is $1,400. Age started to lay reliably. They can start from 18 weeks. I usually find about 22 weeks they're laying pretty reliably. We don't keep all of our chicks. We buy 50 and we usually sell about half, depending on how many we lost and how many we need to top up our main flock back up to 50 as well. For argument's sake, I'm going to say that we're going to sell 20 of these, sell them for $40. Age of retirement, so for us we retire them at 2 years, which is 104 weeks. Number of eggs per week per chicken, so I've worked out this is an average, including the time that they're molting in there. So I'm going to say 5, but honestly sometimes they can go 6, and during their prime time they're laying 7 eggs a week. Cost of eggs in the store for free range eggs which aren't even pasture raised, we're looking at $8.50 a dozen. We sell ours for $6.50 a dozen. Ta-da, it works itself out. So here you can see we've got total number of eggs per chicken. Over the lifetime of the hen is about 410, which works out they'll make you about 34 dozen per chicken. And then it's worked out the cost or profit of each chicken per week, cost or profit of each chicken per lifetime, and the cost or profit of your flock for the week. So these prices include the price of the initial raising of the chicken divided out over the lifetime of the chicken, how many eggs it's laying. I think it works out that the chickens cost like 30 cents a week over 2 years or something like that to pay for the initial purchase and to feed them up to the point where they start laying eggs. Now none of this includes the cost of labor as well. So by the time you add in an extra few minutes every day to go down, feed them, clean them, you are looking at a total of a good few hours in there as well. So if you are wanting to do this profitably, you probably need to also include the hours that you've worked and your hourly rate. That's why I can justify selling my chickens for $40 each at point to lay, because I have worked out that they cost me between time and energy and resources and overall costs, as well as the advertising costs that it costs to sell them. They work out about $35 a chicken. If you found this video helpful, check out this other one all about free ideas for chicken food.